Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is the 12th of December, 2006, and we are here in City Council Chambers, John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 on the third floor of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., except for the first Friday of the month, in which we are in Van Nuys City Hall in our effort to bring City Council closer to all Angelenos. We also are broadcast live on Channel 35. We welcome our viewers on LA City View, your city channel, and we are rebroadcast each evening. We also webcast through our city's homepage, which is a great place to go for city services, information about your elected officials, city departments, and ways to improve your neighborhood. But you can catch that live streaming video webcast at lacity.org. And just click on the link to the left side and you can follow along our council meetings. Lastly, you can tune into our council via our audio phone service, which is called Council Phone, by calling 213-621-CITY. And not only are the proceedings of the full council, but also the proceedings of our committee meetings are provided live audio coverage there. We invite members of the public to come and to speak for general public comment in each of our meetings pursuant to the Brown Act, and also on items which have been agendized for a public hearing that has not been held in committee. Our agendas are available here in City Council Chambers. We have council ambassadors in the back that can assist you with an agenda, or you can get them online in advance, also at lacity.org or through the city clerk's office. And lastly, we invite folks to give public testimony through our remote facility at Van Nuys City Hall. Even when we're meeting here downtown, we are able to listen to public comment through our remote broadcast facility at the Van Nuys City Hall Council Chambers. We have council members Cardenas, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Rosendahl, Weiss, Zine, and myself here. We are waiting one more council member, Ms. Hahn or Ms. Perry. Ms. Hahn is in committee right now, and Ms. Perry is expected shortly. Council members Smith, Wesson, and Reyes are excused today, and this is the first meeting we have since a vacancy on Council District 7 is open, so we have 14 members. As soon as we have one more member, we will begin this meeting. So sit tight, and we'll be with you shortly.
Yeah, sometimes.
Welcome, Ms. Perry, and Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Gruohan, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Westenstein, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves and Ms. Perry seconds. If there's no objection, that'll be approved. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Weiss moves and Mr. Park seconds. If there's no objection, that too will be approved. Next item.
And, Mr. President, this is Tuesday, and there is a flag salute.
We have a very special guest who will be doing our salute to the flag, and I'd like to ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance and recognize Mr. Zine to introduce our guest.
We're going to have Deborah Yang lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then a presentation following.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues,
You can do it.
I'm very honored to have with us today the Honorable Deborah Yang, United States Attorney for the Central District of California. Our guest. Have you ever been in chambers before?
Once.
One time. When you got sworn in, okay. I was appointed May 2002 by President Bush, who made her the first Asian American woman to serve as a United States Attorney. She leads the largest United States Attorney's office outside of Washington, D.C., serving approximately 18 million people who live in the counties of Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. The office employs approximately 260 assistant United States attorneys who litigate criminal, civil, and tax matters in United States district courts. She was selected to serve on President Bush's corporate fraud task force, to sit on the Attorney General's Advisory Committee, to chair the Attorney General's Advisory Subcommittee on Civil Rights, to sit on the Department of Justice Intellectual Properties Task Force. Recently appointed to chair the new Cyber Intellectual Property Subcommittee of the Attorney General's Advisory Committee, also serves on the 9th Circuit Jury Reform Committee. That's a lot of work. California State Judge prior to being appointed United States Attorney. Appointed to the Los Angeles Municipal Court in 1997, became a member of the Los Angeles Superior Court bench in 2000. As a judge, Judge Yang acted as a supervising judge for the Hollywood Courthouse, sat on Criminal Law Advisory Committee and Subcommittee on the Quality of Judicial Services for the Court's Judicial Council. Also served as an assistant United States Attorney for approximately 7 years prior to her judicial career. Been a professor at USC School of Law, where she taught trial advocacy. Also been an instructor at the National Institute of Trial Advocacy and an instructor at California's Judicial College. Previously served as president of Chinese American Museum in Los Angeles, where she played an instrumental role in the creation of this new landmark for Southern California. Founding member and officer of the First Asian American Bar Association in Chicago. Officer and board member of the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association. In 2004, appointed to the President's Council for Pitzer College of the Claremont Colleges, was given her inaugural Distinguished Alumni Award. Recognized by the Inglewood Court as a champion of civil rights. Received her Juris Doctorate in 1985 from Boston College Law School, and it's sad to say that she's going to be leaving the United States Attorney's Office. We congratulate you on your new post at Gibson Dunn Crutcher, where you will co-chair the firm's crisis management group, and for your service and dedication as a United States Attorney for the Central District of California, where you served for 7 years. The Honorable Deborah Yang, who is now leaving the United States Attorney's Office here, which is, I think, right across the street, where my colleague Jack Weiss worked prior to coming to City Council. And Councilmember Weiss, some words from you, and then we're going to have you say farewell to the fine people of Los Angeles before you go into private practice.
Mr. President, I've never
Weiss, please.
done this type of a presentation. I think at some point we'll want to move Ms. Yang over to the podium.
I was asked by the President to do it this
just
way.
so that when she has her going away picture, it doesn't have the word Zine right in front of her. Indeed, it's a sad occasion because Deb has already left her position as the United States Attorney, and the office You know, the office has really never seen a leader quite like you. We talked about this the other night. You are the second longest serving United States Attorney in our district in a very, very long time. And you have so many extraordinary accomplishments in the office, in the area of Homeland Security, counterterrorism cases, the recent treason case, one of the only treason cases brought in modern times, was brought by your office while you were United States Attorney. Innovations in the area of white-collar fraud. And colleagues, a lot of you around here have long-standing concerns about workers' issues and labor issues and labor relations. Under Deb's leadership, a historic case was brought against Ralph's involving strike-breaking activities that they were involved in during the grocery strike. And the list goes on and on. But what you really leave behind in that office is dozen upon dozen of new federal prosecutors whom you hired. There's probably no more important legacy that you leave to that office and to the people of the city and the people of the district than the young prosecutors whom you hired and who will always be grateful to you for that. So I appreciate that we're here, Dennis. And colleagues, we brought Deb in 4 years ago when she started, and it's fitting that she be here as she leaves, because there's no question that she's not leaving public service. She'll be at Gibson Dunn, but she will continue to be very active in the affairs of this city. Congratulations to you, Deb.
Some words from you.
I want to thank all of the City Council for having me here today, but in particular, I want to thank you in a very personal way. I actually truly am a product of all the work that you do. I grew up in Chinatown. I started out just down the street. The thought that I would somehow one day sit in City Hall never even crossed my mind as I was playing in the streets, because back then there weren't too many aftercare programs. But I grew up through the public school system here, and I benefited from all the things that you guys have done in the parks and recreation area, because that's where I spent my summers. I want to thank you, because I wouldn't have had that opportunity if you guys didn't do the kinds of things that you do for our city. I want to thank Dennis and Jack in particular, because one of the things that I did not expect after I got the job was the responsibility of what was going to unfold post 9/11. And in that role and in that capacity as the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer, I reached out and worked in conjunction with many of the people here in this room and their staff in trying to figure out how we can keep the city safer. We're not done yet. It's a work in progress. There's a lot of responsibility there. But one of the things that we'll look forward to having from all of you is an integrated information system sharing that we will have in the future that will allow us to find the Muhammad Attas who are out there as the local police officers go through. But I want to thank you, and I want to thank my family who's over here in the front row, because without them, there's no way that I could have done all the things that Dennis said I did and still have 3 small children. So thank you.
Thank you. And if we can get your mom on camera also.
Yeah, why don't you go to the horseshoe for the picture, as Mr. Weiss suggested. It'll be a nicer place for the picture. You can go ahead for the picture. In the picture, it might be a nicer picture if you go into the
We're going to go in the back
horseshoe.
room, too.
Okay. Want to thank you very much, Mr. Zine, and thank you, Mr. Weiss, and thank you, Ms. Yang, for being here and your extraordinary leadership here in the city. And you have made the city a safer place, and it's nice to see a Franklin Panther, just like our city attorney, doing well. So congratulations, absolutely. Oh no, you're Eagle Rock. That was a huge Eagle Rock Eagle, a rival of the Panthers. But congratulations and thank you to your family, and thank you very much, Mr. Zine. Next order of business, please.
Mr. President, there's a request to continue several items.
Okay.
Do you wish to do that before beginning the regular agenda?
Please.
Item number 39, there was a request to continue that to January 10th.
Okay, is there any objection, colleagues, to continuing item number 39 till the 10th? Seeing none, so ordered. Next item?
Next item is item 81, and there's a request to continue that matter for 1 week, and that would be December 19th.
Okay, if there's no objection to that as well, we will continue item 81 till the 19th. Next item.
There's a request to continue item number 86 for 1 day, and that's December 13th.
Okay, colleagues, any objection to that continuance? If not, we will continue 86 as well.
And also a request to continue 102, and that's for 1 week to December 19th.
Is there any objection, colleagues, to continuing till December 19th, 102? If not, that too will be the order of the day. Okay.
On the regular agenda, Mr. President, item number 1 is an item noticed for public hearing, and I believe there is a card on that item.
Okay, we'll call that special for the card.
Next items are also public hearing items. Items 2 through 8, they are street lighting district ordinances.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call those special from the council? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll on those, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
Those are approved.
And the ordinances go over for 1 week.
Those will go over 1 week due to less than 12 members. Next item, please.
Next items 9 through 17 are also public hearing items, and the recommendation for council action is to open the hearing and continue the hearings and ordinances to January 9th.
Okay, I will move to open those hearings and continue them to the 9th of January, 2007, if there's no objection, so ordered. Next items?
Item number 18, also a public hearing item. There's an ordinance on it, and it's a communication from the CRA and the city attorney.
Okay, we'll open and close the hearing on that. Anybody wishing to call 18 special? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That'll carry over 1 week. Next item?
Item number 19 is also a public hearing item. It's a continued transportation committee report.
Okay, we'll open and close the public hearing there. Anybody wishing to call that special? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
Also, due to less than 12 members, that will be carried over 1 week. Next item?
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 20 through 70, and item 39 has already been acted on. I understand there's an amendment on 45, and I believe also on 32. And 56, there's a correction on the dates in recommendation number 2 should be October 1st, 2005 through September 30th, 2006.
Okay. Any specials, colleagues? Mr. Parks?
I want to talk to you about it. Just, well, it's
On 33,
33 for Mr. Parks. Other specials, colleagues? Mr. Weezer? Sorry, 68?
Yes.
Okay. 68 for Mr. Weezer. Other specials?
And, Mr. President, on 69 and 70, there are 2 reports on the file. A motion is required on those.
Okay. Colleagues, on 69 and 70, we have 2 reports on file. On 69, it's Transportation and Public Works, and on 70, it's Transportation and Plum. Are those conflicting reports at all?
On item 70, I believe both can be adopted. Plum concurs with Transportation with an additional recommendation, and on item 69, they might be similar.
Okay, let's move the Plum report for 70 if there's no objection.
on 69, I think it's just an additional direction, so I think we can approve both reports.
Okay. let's move
And
both of the
also
reports.
would be in the same position for 68.
Okay. 68 has been called special by Mr. Weezer, so we will get to that in a little bit. Any other specials? Yes, Ms. Rule?
special for the amendment.
45 and 46 for Mr. Weiss.
Not up on the board, that's why.
And any other specials?
And, Mr. President, there is an amendment, I believe, coming on item 32. Do you wish to call that special?
Yeah, let's hold that on the desk, the amendment. And with the substitutions or amendments that you gave us on the previous ones, let's take those remaining balance items, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
The ordinances will carry over 1 week, and the others are approved. Next items, please.
Next items, Mr. President, are items for which public hearings have not been held. Items 71 through 105, 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, on ones that we don't have cards for, we'll open and close the public hearing at this point. We do have some cards. Item 71, 82, 83, 87, and 93. And those are the only cards.
And I understand, Mr. President, also on item number 97, there is an amendment that has not been distributed as yet.
Okay, we'll hold that. Any other specials, colleagues? Ms. Gruhl?
When 97 comes, it's just a technical amendment, so when it's handed out, we can go ahead and adopt it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Parks?
Do we have 84 continued till Friday?
Okay, 84. Is there any objection to continuing till Friday? If not, let's go ahead and continue item 84 until Friday, the 15th. Okay. Seeing Mr. Weezer?
Mr. President, we could call special 43. I apologize for calling this.
Okay, we'll reconsider that right after. No problem. 43?
43, please.
All right. On the balance, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
And the ordinances will carry over 1 week, and the others are approved. Next items, please.
Mr. President, did you wish to reconsider item 44 for Mr. Weezer?
I think it's 43. Let's go ahead and open the roll on reconsideration of 43. And close the roll. Please tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
That is approved. That is reconsidered, excuse me, so we will hold that on the table for Mr. Weezer as well. Next items?
Mr. President, do you wish to take a public comment at this time?
Yes, let's go ahead and take general public comment at this time. And we will begin
Has he seen these? Excuse me?
in Van Nuys, Mr. Zuma Dog.
Yeah, thank you so much. Welcome to Van Nuys Zuma Dog's private council chambers. Thank you so much, Mayor Antonio Villagrosa, City Council, taxpayers' money. Check it out, y'all. It's my own private chambers, y'all. I got my laptop out of the pawn shop, and I'm recording this as a worldwide broadcast. But now what I'd like to do is read some comments from my Mayor Sam blog that people are sending me. First of all, gigantic housing bubble in the U.S. could burst. Home builders defying housing numbers. Now, Zuma Dog's been claiming there's a falsely imposed luxury condo conversion bonanza running rampant through this community from the mayor and city council. They're filling their coffers with all this construction money. I've been saying it's going to fold like a house of cards in the wind, y'all, because there's no demand for all these million-dollar condos all around town at the expense of the lower class workers being forced out of the city. They're making traffic and commute times even worse. And now, as usual, the mainstream media is reporting what Zuma Dog's been saying for a long time now, and that for the first time, the housing market's going down in this city. More people are leaving this city than are coming in, and that's because it's too expensive, and the teachers and the police and the service workers and the officers and everybody that helps run this city can't afford to live here because of your falsely imposed construction crisis. Zuma Dog's been talking about vacancy rates, affordable housing, tenants' rights, relocation, and all those things, and I look forward to this Thursday. The planning department is going to be giving their report, and I think you're finally going to see the people like Zuma Dog, Noel Weiss, Chuck Tennant, and everybody else that's complaining about this housing problem in the city is going to We'll be very happy to see when it's all done and taken care of. Now let's move on to the next thing, y'all, from Zuma Dog's blogs. The current members, this is from Mayor Sam, a comment that says, the current members of the City Council support development, and they're responsible for general plan amendments, zone changes, CRA projects, and all that. Who do you think puts money in their campaign war chest? And finally, I'd like to mention, you've been saying under the Brown Act, the Zuma Dog ain't allowed to ask questions. Excuse me, Eric Garcetti, I'd like to ask you, I've been told that constituents at public comment are allowed to ask questions as long as it's a simple answer and doesn't require debate. So my first question is, Eric Garcetti, is City Council allowed to answer questions? Mr. City Attorney.
There's no requirement. Please continue. That's, I think, your time. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. Candido Morris is our next speaker here.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. Welcome back. City Office of Risk Management sought. Mr. Zine, thank you very much. It states that Mr. Zine will introduce a motion today asking the city administrator office to determine whether the Office of Risk Management will be able to pick up a pattern of bad habit and protect the city from future liability. There was an article last week that stated over $800 million had been spent on settlements in 14 years. That's as long as I've been here, Mr. President. 14 years, 800 million. Where does that come out of? The general fund? That's $50 million per district. That means each and every one of you have lost over $50 million for your district, and that has to stop. You know, Mr. President, there was another article that somewhat attacked the workers of the city of Los Angeles. We do have the best and brightest, but you know what? When there's a work environment that's hostile, what do you expect them to do? Again, for almost 2.5 years, the Department of Water and Power employees came here asking for help. They went to Mr. Dean asking for help, and nothing was done. Now we have lawsuits there. When are we going to hold management accountable? Mr. Zine, thank you for this motion. Hopefully, this will resolve some of the issues, and we won't waste all that money on lawsuits, but those lawsuits need to be heard and they need to go to court. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Our next speaker is Ray Patel. Welcome.
I'd like to submit this memorandum.
We'll get this Sergeant
I
at
have
Arms.
15 copies here.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Patel. I'm the president of the Northeast Los Angeles Hotel Owners Association. My address is 1840 West Colorado, Eagle Rock, 90041. I'm here today, and you'll hear from other people after me that are members of our association. We formed this year in response to the ordinance that went into effect. Mr. Zine is leaving the building. Please, sir, if you can hear my comments. Thank you. Respect. Okay. With great respect to this council, you've done some great work this year. However, something happened that the citizens of Los Angeles, our neighbors, and this council needs to be aware of. The memorandum that you have in front of you was drafted by Peter Birbing and Julie Hsu of the ACLU of Southern California and the Asian Pacific American Legal Center. The Los Angeles Police Department Vice Unit went throughout Los Angeles and cited lodging establishment businesses. As you're aware, many of these establishments in Los Angeles are owned by Indian and Chinese Americans. And this has been a critical nature to our community, which has never come together. It's historical and will continue to come together. This ordinance basically is a registration card, filling it out properly, ordinance. And if it's violated, it's a misdemeanor in the city of Los Angeles. And we'd like to request this council to review our request and this memorandum to address it as a civil fine. It does not make sense to us that in the city of Los Angeles, it is required to send in 15 to 22 officers as recorded by your various operations to cite a hotel or motel owner or its clerks with a misdemeanor, which is a criminal offense for not putting maybe the vehicle registration information down on the card. And as it speaks right now, in October 2nd, it was passed and unanimously passed by this council, and it went into effect December 2nd. May I have another minute?
Unfortunately, unable to. It's 2 minutes per person. We have to keep that consistent, but we'll hear from some of the other folks as well. And if you have any statement that you have, sir, if you'd like to, I don't know if it's the same one you submitted to the Sergeant at Arms, but we're happy to read any further comments that you have. Our next speaker, and excuse me, I can't quite read the handwriting here, Praful Bakra? Is that correct? Excuse me if I got that wrong.
Good morning, City of Councils. My name is Praful Bhakta. I represent Los Angeles Lodging Associations, and our members are generally in South Los Angeles. The members are complaining about the WISE units come to check our registrations on the Los Angeles Municipal Code 4149 A and B. If we miss something or the customer miss something, like a second person's name or address, they give us a citation which lead to the misdemeanors. So I appeal to the council members to see on that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Desai Kamainayan, and then Girish and Leela Patel.
Hi, I am Kamal Desai, and I'm working for my boss at Casal One Motel in Eagle Rock. Yeah, in June, they came with Vice Unit. They checked the registration cards, and the second person's name was missing. They gave me citation. I asked them actually what to do, just let me know, so next time there will be no mistakes. They say just put the second person's name. They came after a month and they gave me citation again. They took out 2 cars. The one is a family, all 3 family members, so they don't have second address, all the people staying together. And other registration card, they said me they are staying together, so no need to have second address. Still they gave me the citation, and I have to go to court, but for 1 year I can't apply for the citizenship. So this is too much big for me.
Thank you very much. Girish and Leela Patel are our next speakers.
Good morning, Mr. President, and good morning, Los Angeles City Council members, and respected honorable attendee. My name is Girish Patel, and I own the Rose Bowl Motel located at the 1533 Colorado Boulevard, Los Angeles, at the 14th District. My family, we live in the city of Eagle Rock, and we are U.S. citizen. I wanted to bring to your attention the enforcement took place this year, and on June 14th, my manager showed me a piece of paper and said the police department, LAPD, came by and wanted to see the registration card and gave me this paper. And I looked at the paper and I told him, I said, this is not a paper, this is a ticket. And this is not a ticket, this is a misdemeanor ticket. I said, what did you do? He says, I didn't do anything. He said, I need the second person name on registration card. And the code is 41.49. So I said, then I called the police officer who issued the ticket, and he told me the same thing. So they came back again on July 27th with about 17 to 20 people. And they issued the same ticket, and I said, why? You asked for the second person name, we are putting the second person name. He says, well, you don't have the second person's address. So I said, okay, well, we'll put the second person address. But again, this ticket was a misdemeanor, and they also issued a 316, which is, my manager failed to pay the attention of what John and Jane was talking in the corner. And, he was in the office, thick window, it was really hard to hear. The problem, Honor, is, now my maid, when we go to pick up my kids at the school, they won't cover the window because she's a green card holder. And she says, what I heard from this ticket, I will never get the U.S. citizenship, and I will never fulfill my dream.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Yes, Mr.
Someone from the CLA's office, at least.
Yes, so Mr. Zine's going to comment. There's two more folks from this association. He's going to comment on that. Shu Wang? Shu Wang? You're up there, but you're in two more. And Xiao Yi Xie will be after that.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, every city council.
Could you get a little closer to the microphone, just so we can hear you? Thank you.
My name is Xiu Wang. I'm staying in the York Boulevard, 4722 York Boulevard, the Eagle Rock. I'm the Northeast Motel Association, the owner. And I want to talk about the registration card because on the July 27, someone came here, so the police came here and checked the registration card. Then I showed them, they took 3 registration cards, but that's the customer, no car, so didn't write the car license plate number. I told the police that that's no car. The police told me, even no car, you have to write the no car. So he still gave me ticket for the 4149, say for the misdemeanor. So I'm worried about I can get the green card later or something because the registration card is not. The registration card is the customer write down. Then I check everything already, but no, even I think I talk about a customer no car. He said even no car, he write the car, no car, and even the same address, he write the same address. He didn't tell me that, but he first time tell me, then give me the ticket for 4149 for misdemeanor. So yeah, I'm just want to ask can give me the chance for the no. Okay,
thank you. And I know Mr. Zine is going to respond after we hear from our last of the Northeast Hotel Owners Association, Xiao Yi Xie. Thanks. Welcome to City Council.
Hi, how are you? I need to translate for Mandarin. I just speak in the Mandarin.
Okay. Why don't you hold on 1 second? We'll see if we can get a translator for Mandarin for you. We've been informed that today we don't have one available. I guess we didn't know. We have to order in advance. Is there anybody who can translate Mandarin? If not, we would be happy to take your comments in Mandarin, and we'll make sure that they are translated. Is it okay? There's somebody that can help? Okay, hold on. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate your assistance. And just as a point of information for folks who do come in and who bring folks who, we usually have a Spanish translator here, but if we have other languages, we can always get one, but we need a little bit of advance notice to do that. So please, go ahead.
我是来自Eagle Rock 1460 ，No West Colorado Boulevard, LA City, LA。
She's from Islander Motel of 1460 Colorado Boulevard.
我今天要讲的是，我有现在的登记卡，它有很多的要求，它需要2个 ID， 然后还要住址，还要车子的 model， 然后客人有时候很生气，他就不要，他就跑到别的城市去。
The new law requires so much information on the registration cards. Thank you. That it's scaring away business. Customers are upset they have to fill out that much personal information, and as a result, they actually leave the city.
自从我被抓之后，我是第一次被抓，连车子的 ticket 都没有拿过，我有一点忧郁症。
She's never gotten a single ticket, not even a parking ticket, and she was ticketed for misdemeanor because one of the registration cards didn't have a model type of a car.
那个什么，忘记了。
没关系，慢慢来。
忘记了，我已经忘记。
再专心想一下吧，你时间很多。
我忘记了，你讲一下。
要说什么？最起码要你说的话给他听。
因为他们来抓我的时候，我们根本听不到他讲的声音，然后然后人又站在角落，然后不到客人进到房间不到5分钟，他就来抓，说我卖给妓女，然后我的登记卡不齐全。
这个没有必要。
那我会讲什么？我不知道。
At the time the police came and arrested her, she wasn't informed clearly of what she was being arrested for either. The police came roughly 5 minutes after she sold the card, and they arrested her in a weird fashion.
其实一个 Rock 是很安全的一个地方，也我不知道。
Eagle Rock is a very safe place.
然后就这样。
And that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Xie. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And thank you, sir, for helping with the translation. Mr. Zine, that was the last speaker of those. We have some other public speakers that will come, don't worry, but Mr. Zine wanted to respond to that very briefly. Please, Mr. Zine.
I just wanted to inform the hotel, motel owners, representatives that are here, that I was the one that authored this and brought this forward at the request of the Los Angeles Police Department. And there are specific guidelines. And the reason why we have these is to prevent crime, drugs, prostitution, other illegal activities. And that's what it's about. I have a representative here from my office who's more than happy to meet with you, but this ordinance was supported by the associations that we met with. This ordinance has been in place for a very short period of time, and the people who were at the table were in agreement with this particular ordinance that is very supportive.
It has to be a brief response.
Very supported
brief.
by the police department. So I will tell you that if you wish to discuss, my representative of public safety is here, Tracy Tavera, who will meet with you and discuss the issues and some of the particulars. There may be some misunderstanding regarding the ordinance that this council supported along with the Los Angeles Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. Zine.
President.
And we'll make sure a representative comes and speaks with you right now from Mr. Zine's office. Thank you very much. And we still have some other speakers, but I want to recognize Ms. Hahn for a quick introduction, and then after that, we'll go to Michael Hunt.
Colleagues, I just want to have this opportunity to introduce a friend of mine who's come all the way from Germany, Bavaria, Germany, to visit me for a week, Holger Klug. I first met Holger through Rotary International 6 years ago when I happened to be the international director for the Lawndale Rotary. And we were in charge of hosting this delegation from Germany. And we've since remained friends. Holger even came and helped work on my campaign when I ran for city council. And so I haven't seen him for 5 years, and he thought it was time to make a visit. He's never seen me in my official capacity. So I want you all to give a warm welcome to my friend Holger.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michael Hunt. Welcome.
Good morning, City Council.
Good morning.
It's been a week, and we've really got good news. I think that we're going to be charging the city council members with 3 counts of violating our First Amendment rights, 2 counts of civil rights in court on January 8th, 2007 at 10 o'clock in Ms. Morrow's room. When I first came down here, I really asked you guys to really take heed of really what you guys were doing. The advance date has actually been granted to us for our preliminary injunction. In this, I was really disappointed in all the city council for passing an ordinance that would violate my First Amendment rights and my civil rights as a human being and as an African American. A lot of you guys thought it was about the N-word. It was never about the N-word. It was about a true violation of my civil rights as an African American. It was a true violation of my First Amendment rights as an African American. That's what it's always been about me. Everybody preached that, well, we hang around Robert Kennedy, we know Rosa Parks, we know all of these people, we've been, and we understand how they feel. You never understand how we feel until you've been violated, until you've been up under that violation. The injunction will go through. Matt Dowell on the legalese, Mr. Hunt in court proving that the violation has been committed. All of you guys are cordially invited, but like I said, I'm going to do a campaign. Whoever voted on that bill, that you guys have a violation on your record, a First Amendment and a civil rights violation.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Our next speaker is Matt Dowd. Welcome to City Council.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, the name on the card is et al., because that's me on the preliminary injunction. Moved forward, it's Hunt et al. Versus City of Los Angeles. They've read all the documents. They've moved it forward to January 8th. I'd like to submit a copy now to the Sergeant at Arms. And I also want to mention these people, the hotel owners. See, this, I talked about that the very day they brought this thing up. I said, don't make criminals out of hardworking people. You hear them, they want to get their citizenship. They're running a business. They're not the police. You're trying to make them do the job of the police. These guys are busy. They want to run a hotel, just like us. See, Deep South 81, I'm down on Venice Beach. The city gave me a permit to do some work and make money and express and do what I do. But then an ordinance came out, it makes me a criminal if I go out on the beach to exercise my public expression. So watch for me tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about Rocky. I've got Rocky Part 1 to Part 10. We're going to go over the highlights of the city attorney's career to date. And that's going to be one that's going to be worth watching. But we're in court, and we're inviting everyone to come down. The judge has read the documents. We want to see the city attorney reply. It's a federal injunction, Judge Morrow. Plaintiffs pro se as well. For those who don't know what that means, it means we represented ourselves and we made it to federal court. And I just don't want to see you doing to these people who are running hotels to what you've done to Michael Hunt and Zuma Dog and Matt Dowd. Trying to make criminals out of people who are working. How many times do we have to tell you this? Get after the real criminals.
Our next speaker is Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. Welcome, Ms. Hawkins.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. As we begin this 3-day week plan of all CEOs, all school superintendents, vice presidents of schools, this type of week will rule. We must remember all elderly people of the age of 53, older and up, to work them part-time from 4 hours to 6 hours until the age of 64. Again, we're working on getting down unemployment from 5.2%. We need to go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Since there is not retirement plan of any business owners, there is no health plan or Social Security. Retirement of any business, city, or state jobs all bogus Social Security check income have been canceled. Since all workers, owners had already retired in overseas states' businesses, they couldn't interact or transfer electronic transfer checks to United States of America Social Security income building. These people cannot apply again at any age for Social Security. I'm very happy to say that Social Security is catching a lot of thieves and a lot of bogus people that's running from one country to another, whether they are prime minister, whatever job position they are, whether they are judges, they cannot get on Social Security. I am very happy to say that United States of America public people is not dumb, which is dealing with courts. We don't care anything about owners if they're doing illegal things. In court, it cannot stand hearsays. If you don't have it written on paper, word to mouth, what somebody has done you wrong, will not stand in court of United States, 58 states. Thank you.
Thank you. That closes our general public comment. If we can go to the first item called special, please.
First item, Mr. President, is item number 1, and that was called special for cards from the public.
Okay, Philip Gutman?
Hello.
Welcome.
Okay. I own a certain property, it's 2 blocks south of Wilshire and 2 blocks west of Western Avenue. I'm protesting the Wilshire Business District's assessment of my property. Along Wilshire Boulevard and Western Avenue in Vermont and 6th Street, all the commercial streets, they have people that do cleaning, labor crews. They have a bicycle patrol for security. They have steam cleaning of the sidewalks. They have funds available for remodeling of certain stores. None of this applies to my area whatsoever. I own an apartment building. I receive no benefits whatsoever. It's not anywhere near similar. I have no bicycle patrol there. I have no one cleaning the streets. And labor crew cleaning the streets. I have none of the benefits at all, and that's why I'm objecting to being assessed for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Matt Dowd.
Yes, whoa. Just wanted to get on the record for item 1. Wasn't sure how long this meeting was going to be. Deep South 81, I am on YouTube. All my videos are up there.
Can you please address the
that's my
comments that's here,
credential
sir?
as to
It's a first
who I
warning,
am.
if you can make sure you can address what we put
Right.
the card in for.
Okay, well, yeah, we want to get the Wilshire Center Business Improvement District assessment through, and make sure you all show up at the Zuma Dog Party this weekend
Sir,
at Lava
that's your
Lounge.
second warning. Third one will be the last one. That closes our public comment for item number 1. Anybody wishing to be heard from council on this? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote. That will carry over 1 week. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 32, and that was being held on the desk for an amendment, and I don't believe it has been distributed as yet.
Okay. Mr. Zine?
I have an amendment, I've discussed this with Councilmember Parks, the amendment on number 32. Amend recommendation number 1 to instruct the CLA prior to elimination of an item on the pending priority list to contact the council office that made the request to determine if that office would like to request the Public Works humanitarian exemption. And Councilmember Parks agrees with that on the amendment to 32.
Thank you very much, Mr.
I'll
Zine.
give you a copy of that, yes.
Mr. Labange?
Could someone from the CLA's office come to the center table?
Looks like the head of the CLA's office happens to be here. Mr. Miller?
Did you see the San Diego Charger game the other day? When they had what they call a fumble-rooski?
No, I did not.
Okay, it was a special play that they ran because they felt they needed to do it to catch the other team. And my question to you, and it's kind of an odd question, Mr. Miller, is are we making policies so tight that if there's a need that we can't identify them? What if we do find someone, for whatever reason, let's say an incident happens somewhere in the city that a boys or girls club has a challenge of a catastrophic situation that nobody gets hurt, but they lose their facility or their needs. To give them any surplus equipment, we would be violating the policy? What's the process here? And hold my time.
The policy provides for man-made or natural disasters to be exempt from the policy, so you would be able to donate unlimited amounts in situations such as that.
Okay. So we could, and then if it's not a man-made disaster, but if there's a
If
need
it's a natural
identified?
disaster, yes,
Well, what
you
if there's a
could.
need to find that there's the California Conservation Corps and the Million Tree Initiative that we're all trying to plant trees needs old city trucks to do their job? How do we do that? But hold my time.
You could do that because it's a city initiative, and the Conservation Corps would be furthering a city program.
Okay?
So you can do that.
All right, let's say a homeless advocate who feeds people who are in need and needs an old city vehicle. How do we do that?
One of the city's goals is to help the homeless. So in that situation, I believe that person, as long as it's a nonprofit organization,
File with the state.
right.
Yeah,
that
Lynn, you
we-
and I have worked together many years. Do you think many of my needs will be able to be met based on how I like to operate as a council person with this policy?
We would work with you.
Do you think,
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, you know me well?
Councilman, I do, and I think it's important to remember, what we're trying to do is establish a framework, but policies change over time, and we're going to need to evaluate whether this is working, whether changes need to be made, and the bottom line, of course, is if an unusual situation comes up, 8 of you make policy, and, there may be situations where we
Where you
want to
could
waive
exempt
it
the
or
policy.
amend it, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Ms. Owazaki. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. That is our last speaker. Oh, Mr. Parks.
Let me just ask one thing. Lynn, you've worked probably more on this than anyone else. Since the original policy, how many times have we adjusted it just in the last year or so?
I believe we've made at least 4 adjustments, and the last one was a comprehensive adjustment to take into account about maybe 3 or 4 changes that the council wished to make.
Okay. And they came from a variety of different locations. Public Works offered some, council
Yes.
members offered some,
Yes.
nonprofits offered some. So,
It was a variety of sources, and in fact, the CLA's office also suggested some changes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. That's our final speaker on the queue. Why don't we open the roll on the item, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved as amended. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 97, the amending motion has been distributed to the council members.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and open the roll if nobody wishes to be heard, and close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
97 is approved. Let's go back to the other items.
Next item is item 33, and that was called special by Council Member Parks. No.
Mr. Parks, item number 33, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd ask the city staff, CLA, city attorney to come up to the table. This item was continued, colleagues, from 2 weeks ago. And as you know, we've been working on this for at least a year or so, and it's part of the financial policies. And first of all, Lynn, I think the information we were asked to produce was how much our council office is spending or have waived in the last year as it relates to developmental fees.
Yes, the Building and Safety Department provided information since your last council meeting. What we found was that less than $30,000 in development fee waivers were approved by the council in the last fiscal year.
Okay, and then, Pete, would you give us a thumbnail on why legally we're approaching this issue from waivers to subsidy?
Well, since Proposition 218 was adopted, there have been concerns expressed about the waiver of fees as opposed to providing some type of subsidy directly to organizations, because the requirements of 218 are that the fees that are imposed for permits and/or services provided by government be exactly proportionate to the services and the value of the services received by the permittee. So to the extent that waivers were being provided to one permittee, the danger was that other permittees were picking up more than their fair share of the fees correspondingly. And that's a requirement that applies by permittee as well as all across the board to the class of permittees. By providing a subsidy, that whole problem is eliminated. And that is if you have a separate fund that is general fund funded, and then as the council approves subsidies for the particular organizations that the council wishes to promote, whose purposes it wishes to promote, then there's no impact on a 218 type situation.
It's the same theory that we've used for SCEP fees and Public Works Trust Fund.
Correct.
In the sense of making sure that whatever we collect, we use on a specific purpose of the collection.
Yes.
And that we do not over-collect and have an abundance of money that is strictly based on the work we provide.
Exactly. And I might add that having this kind of a system in place, the subsidy type system, would give you the type of information that was requested at the last meeting pretty much at hand at any time that you wanted to see it. It's an entirely transparent system.
Let me ask Ray and Lynn, you both deal with the budget. On the waiver system that we have now, what impact does it make as we go through the year in addressing waivers and how it impacts departments?
My view is that waivers have caused shortages in certain departments, and when the council is asked to do their mid-year adjustment or through other financial status reports, the council has to move money around between other departments or the reserve fund in order to make up those shortages caused by waivers that have been approved.
Okay. And Ray, you may comment also on the sense of the monthly or the status report and how we address some of those shortages.
Well, as we report through our status reports, if there are shortfalls in revenue for various departments and special funds, then we need to interject general fund monies to actually make those departments whole and make sure that they can expend their budgets as approved by council.
And this also impacts where if a department gets into emergency, even the controller has to move money in to allow them to meet their.
That's true, and I guess a good example would be Convention Center. There have been a few reserve fund loans that have been triggered at year end. One of the things that we're looking at is the waivers for Convention Center fees. They've been roughly about $500,000 for the last couple of years. That certainly has an impact at year end for that department.
Do you have a rough estimate of what some of the unfunded liabilities in a fiscal year might run from waivers of all sorts?
It's roughly, some estimates have floated roughly about 16, 17 million for the various categories, from development fees to convention center, special events, and below market lease agreements.
And basically, so the budget that we've been giving departments they do not have the ability to manage their departments if these waivers come in and take their revenue or their personnel away from them.
It definitely creates some difficulty on their part in trying to manage their departmental operations.
So waivers aren't free?
No, they are not.
So at some point, the general fund has to backfill the funds?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Waivers cost money, an important lesson for all of us. Mr. Levant.
Mr. Miller here, I think Mr. Miller was here last time, or Lynn maybe could answer. I had some specifics. I did not get a direct report, but a staff member from another council office showed me a report. Remember, I had a question on what effects the 15 council districts have? I never got that report. Usually so good at giving those reports, Mr. Miller.
Well, again, I think we did meet with your staff, but Building and Safety has reported in total in the last year only $30,000 in development fees for nonprofits have been waived. What this is proposing actually is $50,000 per office through the end of the fiscal year.
And then it rolls over next year. It's not stayed there. It doesn't grow. It just stays as a cap.
What we would do in the upcoming budget in the spring is make a determination about how much money is needed, and then similarly like we did this year, provide some money to cover those I shouldn't say waivers, to cover those subsidies.
Right. You think it could meet the needs of the council?
It certainly looks like it from what has been subsidized or waived in the past, yes. It does look like there should be sufficient.
All right, members, I just called it special last time because I didn't want to see us handcuffed and be able to do what we do. but it has been thoroughly looked at, and this report that Mr. Miller just articulated does cover that need. Is there any, if there's an exceptional, because I think the highest number was $15,000, is that correct?
Yes.
If there's an exceptional project, for whatever reason, I know in the old days, they traded parking meter money. Is it possible to help another council office if they need help?
Well, yes, and I think on exceptional projects, it also gives us the opportunity to find out what other funding sources other than the general fund might be available to cover that, to make the project feasible.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. Parks.
Mr. Parks is next.
I forgot to ask one thing. How much money do we have set aside for this developmental fee ordinance?
$750,000 for the current fiscal year.
For the current fiscal, takes us to June
That's right.
30th. And then, Pete, can you tell us when we could expect that ordinance to be forthcoming?
Council, early part of January should be here.
So
when council comes back in January.
The $50,000 per council office at this time would appear to cover more than what's been expended over the last year.
Correct.
Okay.
And I might say, I might add, the policy itself goes into effect January 1st, even without the ordinance, but we're going to make it part of the code as well.
Very good. And then the last couple of questions I have, in the sense of the funding, so that everybody's clearly aware, it can be traded amongst offices, but it cannot be accumulated over a second or third subsequent fiscal year.
Correct.
Is that
That's correct.
correct? All right, so
That's correct.
basically, colleagues, what we have, we think is a policy that will help us in the sense of not getting to legal hot water about subsidies versus waivers. We also appear that we're having the ability to account for what is being expended and not putting general managers in a position to where their budget is not something they can rely on because their personnel and their salary costs and sometimes even their overtime is being expended because of these waivers. And so I think it gives us a chance also at some point, if we need to alter it as we've done with the surplus property, we have more than the wherewithal to go in and tweak it as we move forward. Okay, thank you very much.
Seeing no other speakers on the queue, Madam Clerk, open the roll on this item, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
Forthwith.
Well, that forthwith.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Garcetti, Mr. President, indicated that on item number 1, there was a card that had been misfiled, so we'd like to reconsider that item to hear the public comment from this individual. So, Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll on reconsideration on item number 1, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
That item is now before us. Mr. Zine, I see you've pushed your button. Is this, we're going to go back to item 1. Did you have something?
Sorry, talking to me?
Which, yes, your button had been pushed?
No?
No, okay, it's shown up here.
It shows clear here.
Shows up on my speaker queue, so, but, yeah, that's right. So if I could ask Mr. Ching Chow to come forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Ching Chow, and I'm here to speak against this proposed special assessment against businesses in the Wilshire Center Business Improvement District. The reason why I'm here is because I'm general counsel for Fred Leeds, who owns a 9-acre development there, the Wilshire Union Center with the Home Depot and Starbucks, which extends from Wilshire Union to 6th and Burlington, and 2 other projects in and around the area. The reason why I'm opposed to this is because of this additional tax that's going to be levied against businesses in the area. In fact, these special taxes do not only harm businesses and do not improve them. Well, I've looked at the budget as to what was proposed here, and the items enumerated for the budgets are for maintenance, marketing, and security. And in fact, for these projects, we have security round the clock. We have 24-hour security that attempts to work with the LAPD to alleviate some of the problems in the district. Unfortunately, there is a great divide between the LAPD and their security, and the LAPD, especially the Rampart Division, is too inundated with the criminal activity there to properly work with the security. So this proposal that indicates that there are going to be increased security for the district to work in conjunction with the LAPD is something that we've attempted in the area because of the presence of development that we have there. In fact, this special levy and tax that's going to, if it passes, will have a harming, resonating effect to the business environment in the area, and we are opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and apologize for the card being placed in the wrong slot here. Thank you very much for being here. Madam Clerk, that item is now before us. If you could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Next item, Madam President, is item 43, and that was called special by Councilmember Weezer.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I heard this item in Plum Committee, and Councilmember Reyes, who is not here with us today as an excused absence, requested or asked that I ask some questions on this. Can I have the Planning Department come up to the table, please? It has been alleged that the imposition of the affordable housing obligation required by the specific plan would render this project infeasible. Can you tell us whether the city has approved other projects in the area with this requirement?
Certainly. My name is Charlie Roush, Planning Department staff. I've tabulated in the last year and a half that the department has approved 8 projects within the Central City West Specific Plan containing over 1,600 units, all of which included the affordable housing provisions of the specific plan or the replacement housing provisions. And a number of those projects have been completed or are under construction at 1010 Wilshire, 1000 Wilshire, 1234 Wilshire, and the Opus project at First and Beaudry. So it is, projects are being built. They are being built without city subsidies, and the provision works and does not stop development from happening in the area.
And is there a nexus for this, for the nexus requirement in this case?
The nexus would be in the Central City West Specific Plan's environmental impact report, though the affordable housing, the inclusion, the replacement housing provision was not listed as a specific mitigation measure. The environmental impact report did list housing and population as a possible area of impact, which was mitigated by the fact that the Central City West Specific Plan required the affordable housing or replacement housing provisions. So, though not listed specifically as a mitigation measure, it was basically mitigated by the fact the specific plan required it.
Thank you. And does the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act prohibit the city from enforcing either its housing replacement or affordable housing provisions of the specific plan?
We do not believe so. And checking the legislative record for the Costa-Hawkins bill, this bill was specifically enacted to prevent municipalities from enacting vacancy control provisions on new housing as a part of their rent control ordinances. In no place in either the bill or in the legislative record was it mentioned that this had anything to do with replacement housing provisions in local ordinances, and if it did, it would basically be in conflict with the Mello Act, which requires local municipalities and jurisdictions to do exactly that, replace low-income units that are taken out by new developments in the coastal zone.
Great, thank you very much. Council members, we heard this item in Plum, and at this time, myself and the chair of the committee request that we move the Plum Committee report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much. Here we go again, unfortunately. I want to thank, it was just a few years ago, I was with my friends at Acorn outside a similar building protesting the lack of compliance with the law. And let's be clear about what it is. It's the law. And it is the law because the city passed and the mayor signed some years ago a requirement that where new market rate housing was being built in the Central City West plan, that there be a requirement for inclusionary zoning, that there be affordable housing as a part of that. And the deal was supposed to be also that there was a need here as we saw growth up. We didn't want it to push people out, that the stability of a community was going to be good for the housing market, it was going to be good for our city, it was going to be good for the quality of our life. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was scratching her head and asking, why is it that it takes so long, she lives on the west side of Los Angeles, for me to come from the ocean to the freeway, the 405? And I said, well, you know, the west side did a very good job with economic development over the last 10 years and added retail in Santa Monica and office buildings and all sorts of jobs. But the west side also said, I don't really want to build much housing here. So guess what? People fill those jobs, and those jobs have to go someplace to sleep at night. And so that housing is in the central city. And it's reversed the traffic flows so that right now, if you live on the west side, you can't get in your car anytime besides 10 and 2 and not be besieged by traffic. So while many of us are here for justice reasons, and many of us feel that affordable housing is an important thing in the city for our economic competitiveness, for stopping homelessness, for making sure that people can live in dignity, it's also for all of us in the city, no matter what your perspective on those issues are, if we want to have a good quality of life. We don't want to replicate in the center of our city what happened in other parts of the city when we didn't plan ahead. And our city's general manager of the planning department says, you know, we ask so little of our developers here in Los Angeles. If you compare what San Diego, where she came from, where the sky didn't fall, where they did have a requirement that affordable housing be built. If you look at other cities throughout this state, if you look throughout this country where there has been these requirements, the market adjusts, the land price adjusts to this. I understand the differential between only having it in one part of the city and not the rest of the city, but the answer isn't to roll it back in one part of the city. It's to figure out how we can do this collaboratively for the entire city in a way that works for developers but also works for the community. So I want to thank Councilmember Reyes and Councilmember Huizar. Councilmember Reyes, this is in his district, and I know he wanted to be here today but couldn't and was excused today. But he has been an unwavering voice to make sure that we don't just forget a few units here and there, because people might say, this isn't about a lot of units, this isn't going to solve homelessness today, this isn't going to make a huge dent in the rental market. But if we turn our back every single time, collectively what happened in the 90s when we stopped building housing and we stopped building enough affordable housing, we suddenly now are picking up those pieces. We either sink together or we swim together, and by denying this, it's time to enforce the law and try to swim together again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Very eloquent. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I have to say that Mr. Reyes and I are finally beginning to get a great number of projects that are coming online in our districts, and I know, like many of you, it's so important to bring in housing at all levels of income. And with planning backgrounds, I know we all recognize what the guidelines are with respect to specific plans and where requirements are and where they are not. But in this case, it's directly applicable with respect to the specific plan. And I don't think that 15% is asking too much. As a matter of fact, given that much of my district is a redevelopment area, and as many of you know, that takes us up to 20%. So I don't think this is something that is unreasonable, and we should expect that when we talk about the need to create more affordable housing, the more affordable housing that we bring on the market and to have it in mixed income communities, the more rents will go down. And we infuse our market with choices for people, then people will be able to afford to live where they want to live. This is an important piece of the puzzle, and these requirements were put there for a reason. And if we really mean what we say to create a livable mixed income community, not in lieu, not putting people at one income level in one part of the city and putting people at another income level at another part of the city. So particularly given the scope of the project, I think this is sound public policy, and I think this is policy that we should enforce, and I would like to support Mr. Reyes in his denial of the appeal.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a 15% requirement of affordable housing. Explain exactly what this is.
Councilman, the Central City West specific plan does this in two ways. It requires...
Hold my time, please.
It requires either replacement of existing units which were on the site and torn down or demolished after a certain date. I can get it for you, but
February 1988.
February 1988, or a 15% set aside, whichever would result in the most number of units.
And how many were there then at that time?
On this site,
Yeah.
60.
60 affordable?
60 SRO units.
And the total complex, how many units are we talking about?
In Central City West or in this particular
In
project?
this particular project?
350.
All right, 350 units, and the developer is looking for an exception not to do 15% affordable? Is that what I'm hearing?
Larry Friedman from Planning Department. The
Hi, Larry.
developer is asking for an exemption from having to replace 60 affordable units to provide them either on-site, pay an NO fee, or provide them off-site.
And what's your response to that?
Our recommendation before the Area Planning Commission was to deny that exception request, but to allow for the units to be provided off-site, which is an option that's currently not permitted by the specific plan.
Why would
Also-
you want to do it off-site and not leave the mix of community in one structure? What would be the logic for that?
It was an option that has been approved for other projects in Central City West, but all three options were available. In addition, the Area Planning Commission granted 5 other specific plan exception requests for this project. 3 of them were for yard exceptions. 1 was to allow relief from the specific plan's tree requirement, and the other was to allow for reduced open space for each dwelling unit. The project was granted these exception entitlements to permit the site plan which the applicant wanted to be approved, and it was approved accordingly. So 5 of the exception requests were granted, but not the one for relief from the affordable housing requirement.
The word relief, I'm outraged by that word actually being used all this time. In my district, what are the requirements in the 11th district for a developer when it comes to building housing?
Well, you are in the coastal zone, so you are regulated in part by the Mellow Act, which requires replacement. And I believe the Mellow Act also has an inclusionary provision, I'm not exactly sure on that, in which developer, if they cannot do it, would request the city to, the developer would show an economic hardship and try to get out of the requirement. And that is one of the reasons that we say Costa-Hawkins doesn't really apply to in this particular case, because if it did, the city would be required in all cases to exempt developers from doing affordable units in the coastal zone.
Yeah,
Just
I have a
because
big
of a
problem in
conflict
the
between-
coastal zone.
between state
Developers
law.
have gotten out of building the affordable units in the complex. They've always gotten exceptions to go somewhere else because they say it can't pencil in. My answer to them is, get a new pencil. It's as simple as that. How do we, in my district, when you think about this, preserve the affordable housing that I have? I've been trying to do a condo conversion moratorium. I get nowhere, can't even get it scheduled to be discussed here. I'm losing my middle class and working class. It's just becoming a high-end district. Do you have any suggestions on how we can keep the pluralistic mix of people on the west side?
Not offhand, but I'm sure the department is looking into that. I believe we have a number of ordinances which are being worked on by our citywide division to do that, and also on the condo conversion issue. Those are being worked on by a different section of the department, but I know they are going forward with those.
The Mellow Act has just been taking Lincoln Boulevard and West, but I'm told historically the Mellow Act should be taking in more of our district. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Is there anybody in the department that could help me with the Mellow Act?
Alan Bell, I believe, is working on the city ordinance coming out of the settlement, out of a lawsuit that the city is working on.
Okay, well, I just want to tell you, I'm frustrated on the west side because the affordable components tend never to be built on the west side, but they go somewhere else, and I want them built on the west side. So what we're talking about here, which is 15% or 60 units in another section of the city, come on over to the west side and help me out on some of that to keep my mix the way it should be. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilman,
LaBonge.
I might add that the Playa Vista specific plan does have a 15% set aside for all units in the area.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge.
Thank you very much. Give us the boundaries of the Central City West area, please.
It's basically Glendale Boulevard extended southerly to approximately Olympic or Pico, and then along the Harbor Freeway to the Hollywood Freeway.
Glendale cuts diagonal, so it goes like Glendale to Lucas, or?
To Lucas, and then down Lucas, and then jogs in and out.
The Good Samaritan Hospital, right?
Yes, it is.
Where Eric Garcetti was born. And what's the name of this street?
Which one?
The street that the project's on.
Oh, this particular...
St. Paul.
Yeah, St. Paul. Who was St. Paul?
St. Paul was named after the Episcopal Cathedral, which was located at that site and demolished after the Sylmar earthquake.
Well, no, I think it was a little further. No, we got to talk to Cecilia over at the Times. She wrote a nice story about it. St. Paul may have been there before, but it used to be at Figueroa and right at Wilshire and 6th that came in and tore down there, right between that whole block. Neither here nor there. St. Paul's a nice street name, and St. Paul was somebody in history, but we don't know who that history is right now. We can't talk about it here in this great building.
That's correct.
But this is the right thing to do, because there's a plan that was developed years ago, and the 4th District, ladies and gentlemen, used to go all the way to the Harbor Freeway. Believe it or not, all our council districts, Mr. Rosendahl, used to go east-west, and then when they changed, the 1st District came and all that happened. But I remember in my earlier days of service, John Farrar was working on this particular issue because there was a lot of interest in where the new Belmont High School is built on Beaudry, that would be a Park La Brea west of the Harbor Freeway type. Do you remember that, Charlie?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so, and now that's a high school. So all this is coming 1988. Man, it takes a long time to get home, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
I know. But this is a real simple solution because the law is there. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Real simple. Now, in my district in North Hollywood, where redevelopment is, there's areas that have these requirements that we fulfill these requirements because that's the law, right?
Yeah, correct.
And there's
It being a
areas where there's
redevelopment.
requirements, so you got to fill the law. So it's, as Mr. Garcetti said, this is the thing. And I know Mr. Reyes, who's a champion for this, wants this. So this is important. And it's very impressive to see what is happening to central Los Angeles. Last week I was in the greatest spot that the city owns in the world, Owens Valley. And man, it was so quiet I couldn't even hear myself. And as I stood there, I talked to some guys, I met some ranchers from the Tehachapis who were up to see the mayor divert the water back into the Owens Valley. And they said they don't want all these tracks out there, Bill, in the Tehachapis. And I said, well, come down and support Jan Perry in the center city and other areas to build density. Because that's where we have a system. Because right along Wilshire, not far from St. Paul, at 7th is a metro stop. And there was going to be one at Whitmer, if I remember in the old days, which is a knockout panel. Still could be. And all this is happening and it's transforming the city, which is amazing. But we should have a component if the law states 15%. And we should look at where we are when anytime government is involved to help. That's what our effort is, to help this particular situation. So I rise to support this effort based on the hard work of many for almost 20 years, and even before that, because I remember the battles at Diamond Street and all the streets that were west. Their names are no longer there. They're part of that new Belmont High School when they were going to build what was then a Park La Brea west of the Harbor Freeway. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Charlie. Good to see you again, and we'll have to brush
Pleasure.
up our Shakespeare on St. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge.
Thank you.
Colleagues, there's no one else on the queue. Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. That appeal has been denied. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item, Madam President, is item 45 and 46 were called special by Mr. Weiss. Do we wish to take those together?
Yes, Mr. Weiss.
We have a couple public comment cards.
We
Madam
do.
President, we had a public hearing in committee, but what we have here today with 45 and 46 represents a real compromise and collaboration between the folks from Lane and the folks from BOMA. So if we could have about a 5-minute public hearing?
Sure. We do have just 4 cards here.
Perfect.
A minute each? Is
Minute
that-
each.
A minute each, okay. We will ask Martha to come forward from BOMA, T. Crystal Coleman from, a pastor from Christ Liberty Tabernacle, Hector Garcia from the Security Officers Coalition, and Robert Weaver from the Securities. Thank you.
My name is Martha Cox-Nittickman. I'm the interim director for the Building Owners and Managers Association. And first of all, I want to start off and thank Council Member Jack Weiss for his leadership on this issue. BOMA supports the measures presented in items 45 and 46 as reasonable steps to increase occupant safety in commercial high-rise office buildings. Most of these recommendations, as you know, are enhancements of the current regulations concerning emergency evacuation in high-rise buildings. Our Security Committee has met several times with the Fire Department over the last few months to discuss how to institute these changes, and we will continue to work with them. We do have some concerns about the guard verification, guard training verification, but we will be working very close with Jack Weiss's office as this moves forward into its ordinance form. These recommendations, as you know, cannot be implemented without the review of the Fire Department's staffing needs, and we look forward to working with the councilman and with all of you to make these improvements a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Pastor Tambakile Coleman Smart, and I'm a member of the Stand for Security Coalition, which is a broad-based community group that is made of community organizations, clergy, security officers throughout the city of Los Angeles who are passionate about affecting change in the lives of security officers in Los Angeles. We have come together to advocate for the improvement of working conditions in Los Angeles security industry. This industry is the fastest growing source of employment opportunities in South Los Angeles. However, security officers earn poverty wages and often must work 2 jobs to support their families. In addition, the lack of training and the increased turnover rate in the industry makes the general public pay the price for inadequate trained security officers in office buildings throughout Los Angeles. The intent of the Safe and Secure policy is to improve public safety. By enacting this policy, we expect that many lives will be saved in the event of natural disaster of terrorist acts. For these reasons, we ask for your support for the safe and secure training for those living in restrictive lower class, which will broaden into the middle
If I could
class.
just ask you to conclude. Sorry, we're over the minute.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you very, very much. Our next speaker, Hector.
Actually, I'm Bob Weaver. We switched ourselves around. I've got over 25 years as a security officer, and I appreciate this opportunity to dispel a few myths about security officers and training. Folks that work or do business in the high-rise offices buildings go through their daily routine secure in the knowledge that whatever happens, the security officer will know exactly what to do. In the real world, this is not the case. The state of California requires security officers to have a minimum 40 hours of training. In 28 years, I have not received a total of 40 hours of training. Let me give you a little of my training history. When I was first employed as a security officer, I was required to go to an outside agency to receive my basic training regimen detailing the job description of a security officer. And it was an 8-hour course completed in 2 nights, including testing. At my post, I received another 4 hours of procedural training. I learned my patrol, the route, which keys unlock which doors, that sort of thing. 1 week later, I was training a new officer. Am I out of time?
You're out of time. If you want one last concluding sentence.
Okay, I just want to say that the public relies on a security officer's knowledge and training. Security officers rely on being provided these tools. It is time we were. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Good morning. My name is Hector Garcia. I also here to speak in favor of the safe and secure legislation recommendations. And there's not enough that can be said about the importance of training and the lack of training. We have a huge turnover rate, a large part of it due to training. Not just, but training is an important part. To illustrate the importance of this, for the past year and a half, I've worked at Century Plaza Towers. When I got there, I was appalled at what I saw. My security background is basically in the military. I think I know what I'm talking about when I talk about security. Basically, I had to train myself. And the opinion of a lot of people there is that it would be a sad thing to see something happen to the Twin Towers in Century City because of the lack of security and the lack of training. I urge you to pass this legislation and the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Weiss, I'm sorry.
My button, or my name vanished. I just want to thank everyone who's been involved in this, and I particularly appreciate the fact that today we have both sides in a very complicated and lengthy and ongoing discussion here in support of these measures. And I'm very grateful to all of you, not only for coming out today and being supportive, but for being so constructive at the table with Lisa Hanson in my office in trying to forge something that we can all agree on. And that's what we have here today. We have a set of requirements that will improve emergency planning and evacuation procedures in high-rise buildings. This was passed out of Public Safety Committee, and my colleagues on the committee will remember that we had a number of details that we agreed upon at the committee that for whatever reason the clerk's office did not memorialize in our report. So what I want to do now is, by way of an amending motion, make those put those details in the record here so it's very clear that we are asking for them in the final ordinance. Number one, I want to make clear that this ordinance will apply to all high-rise buildings over 250,000 square feet. That will be approximately 239 buildings in the city according to the LAFD. Secondly, I want to note that we will require one first responder with training verified by the city for every 500 occupants in each building. Next, I want to note that we should require all buildings in excess of 250,000 square feet to provide documentation to allow the city to certify that state-mandated training has been received by all security officers. I'd like to ask the city attorney to prepare ordinances with those requirements and with the other requirements listed in items 45 and 46. And I want to thank Martha in particular. You will, of course, continue to be at the table with us. We understand that there are concerns on all sides here, but it's really important for the sake of public safety that we move forward on these items so we can have solid, state-of-the-art, 21st century requirements for high-rise buildings, for large office buildings in this city. And I want to thank my partner Eric Garcetti, with whom I introduced the legislation that has kicked all this off several months ago. There are additional measures which he is working hard on. And I really appreciate your support, Mr. Garcetti, in ensuring that the public safety components of these measures go forward today. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you for the kind words, Mr. Weiss. And this is just smart policy, and Jack, you deserve a lot of credit. Councilmember Weiss really has taken the lead in trying to figure out how we can make sure that our city is safer, and Councilmember Weiss has done that in a strategic way about Homeland Security, but it really boils down to individual buildings, individual places, and individual potential incidents. Lisa Hanson and his office, I know, is point person for this, and Councilmember Weiss have been working very diligently with all parties here, and I want to thank those parties because this is really about making sure that Los Angeles does have not only the safety that it needs, but it professionalizes an industry that was allowed to get away from professional quality. And it was done so in a variety of ways. We're only discussing one here today, but it was done in a way that the wages were brought down, the training was brought down, it was turned into a high turnover industry which serves not the workers, and it certainly doesn't serve the buildings, and it mostly does not serve the city. So in looking at what our route forward is here today, these are two brave steps. I think Mr. Weiss was was heralded as a new Democrat of the Week for this idea nationally, because there was a lot of attention that looked at this as a way of making sure that we could have smart solutions for safe buildings. But we also have to make sure that our communities, too, are strengthened, that we can work with our building owners and workers together to make sure that people have the sort of pay benefits to stay in these jobs long term, and that we don't have the sort of turnover that makes us all less safe. And I want to thank our city departments who worked on this as well to make sure that we're in a place, too, where our city departments are ensuring that that plan for that firefighter, I remember when Pat McCosker, from our former president of the United Firefighters of Los Angeles, came here and testified in favor of this, because he had seen the effect of what it was like to be a firefighter, to arrive at a building just for a fire, not even a terrorist incident or anything else, and to have no plan, no good training, and what a difference that meant for the professional firefighters when they got there. So I want to thank all of the members, Lane, Boma, the other folks who have come together as a part of this. This is a really important first step as we go along the way to strengthening the entire city of Los Angeles and strengthening the workers and building owners as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Labange.
Thank you. Is anyone from the department here at all on this? Anyone from the department here? Who do want to take the table? Chief Hill. Chief Hill, 33 years on the job, Chief Hill. I remember when you were a rookie. Hard to say how time flies. Give us your, and hold my time, what you believe is so important about this program.
I think, Councilman, President of City Council, I think this program provides for additional mitigation measures to assist the fire department upon arrival on high-rise buildings. It augments the plan. It will provide that each building has people there that are capable of providing necessary direction, to have some knowledge of what has transpired in that building, and be able to relay that information to the fire department.
Great. And as far as right now, how much is this implemented already?
Yeah, currently we have fire wardens for every building. We have floor wardens for every floor. And this program would give us an opportunity to raise the level of their training, and also the level of training of every individual in every one of these high-rise buildings over 250,000 square feet.
Good. Okay, and I just wanted to ask you, what do you have in residential high-rises? Because in the Wilshire District, which I represent, some residentials have challenges as well.
Yeah, we do have, it's a little bit more difficult in residential buildings because there are individual houses where they live, but they do have programs where they practices twice a year, and they also have information and classes in every one of those buildings.
Right. And, Mr. Weiss, I know it came to your committee. I believe I may have a motion in your committee to try to organize managers of residential apartment units on this same line. Can we check on that? Because there's a whole host of opportunity here. This is great. Because how many high-rise do we have?
We have 750 high-rise buildings.
Over, what's a high-rise? Over how many floors?
Over 75 feet.
75 feet, which is 7 stories.
Yes.
How many super high-rises do we have?
I don't know what you mean by super high
Well,
rise.
over, let's say, you know, a hook and ladder could hit a top of a 75-foot building.
A hook and ladder, anything over 75 feet, a hook and ladder is not going to reach the top
But
of
it'll
that
reach
building.
75 feet.
It'll reach 6 or 7
75 feet,
yeah.
depending on the setback.
Right, and the angle to it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I just want to look at those issues and then try to incorporate all these people who are managers of buildings, you know, who could possibly somehow get involved with the CERT program, be aware, because and Lucy Jones said it, I didn't say it, Lucy Jones said it, San Andreas is long overdue. It's like a train waiting to come into Union Station. San Andreas is long overdue to make a little bump. It's a 150 cycle, and we're in that cycle now. So not just from the challenge of terrorism, but from the natural disasters that fit us, you're not going to be able to respond to it. We need to help organize the managers of buildings in many, many ways. So I'm going to research that from my area, Mr. Weiss, to see how we could broaden it for some of the residential. And I know at the Park La Brea complex, which I mentioned earlier on the subject, 10-story high, they do have plans there, but it's a different community, but some don't have that. And I'm sure you got a lot of high-rise down the Wilshire corridor that has that, but some of the older buildings may not. So I hope we could address that with this.
Mr. Labange, we'll see if you have a motion, and if you don't, we'll make sure that your idea is incorporated in an idea of Mr. Reyes, who has brought up the issue of the new residential buildings in the city that are pending approval, and what could be done to enhance emergency management and evacuation planning there. So you're on the right track, Mr. Labange.
Yeah, I know. Well, I remember from the incidents, but, you know, in New York, they got what they call superintendents, you know, and if and they run in a building, I don't know if anybody's from New York, I just haven't lived there at all, but to know that we should focus on some of these people too, as you focus on these commercial buildings, because they're there before you could get there. They could help, and every second counts. So thank you, Chief Hill. Good to see you again. Thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you. I'd just like to add my thank you to both of the parties, both the coalition and BOMA, and I think came out with something in the fire department that is going to protect workers as well as our buildings. So was pleased to support Mr. Weiss and Mr. Garcetti on that motion. Madam Clerk, the item is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Both of those items actually have been approved. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is item 68, and that was called special by Councilmember Weezer, and there are 2 reports on the file.
Mr. Weezer. Mr. Weezer? We'll hold that on the desk till Mr. Weezer returns.
He's They're holding it for you right now.
Con asked me to call it special.
Oh, this is what they're built on.
Actually,
Thank you, Madam President. I
Yes.
did a courtesy to my colleague, Councilwoman Janice Hunt, who asked me to call this special. So.
I'll let you go first. You
No, you go first.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
We have
Labange.
this resolved there. This is an issue that I had, and it was requested of the police department. I know it was Harry Ito here today. And Harry, you brought this back up again. Thank you, Harry, from the Chief of Police Office. A way to help encourage recruitment, that we would allow community organizations. Harry, take the center table, will you please? Because you're an expert on this here. You could allow the community organizations to help us recruit officers, as well as neighborhood councils and community groups, so they get $1,000. Right now we have a program where if you're a city employee, a police officer, and you help recruit another police officer as a grant. Harry, if you could be brief, as you always, so good, focused.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, basically the department's very supportive of this proposal. We feel that it'll aid us in continuing our efforts in recruitment by allowing the nonprofits to be able to get this
One of the greatest things about the
incentive.
police office, Harry, where'd you grow up?
San Fernando Valley.
What high school?
Verdugo Hills.
Verdugo Hills. Mr. Rosendahl, here's a man who's from a local high school, okay? And the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department are from our local community. And what better ways to help get recruitment from our local nonprofits, our local community organizations, neighborhood councils. It's an idea I had that got stuck, and then you helped unstuck it there. Detective?
Detective, yes.
Detective Ito, thank you so much. So I asked for an aye vote, and I thank everyone who worked on this. It took a little time. We want to push in 2007 to recruit, because there's a big drop coming up. We've got to make sure the drop doesn't hurt us. We've got to make sure we get the officers to replace those who served the city so well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilmember Labange, I was happy to second this, and I think this is a win-win situation. We now know that we have resources to hire more police officers in the city of Los Angeles, but we're hearing that it's more difficult to recruit. We just heard where we're actually competing with sheriffs and not doing quite as well as they are in hiring new recruits. So this is a perfect opportunity for neighborhood councils who have a great system for outreach in their own neighborhoods with a lot of organizations. They have outreach with community-based organizations, with school-based organizations, with nonprofits, with the religious community. I mean, our neighborhood councils are the vehicle out there that have a great opportunity to outreach. The idea that we give them a little incentive by giving them $1,000 if this candidate enters the academy, is that correct?
Enters and completes.
Enters and completes?
Completes the academy, yes.
Okay, so enters and completes the academy, that they get $1,000. So I think this is a good idea to reach out there. I agree that we need more police officers who live in the city of Los Angeles. I think that makes for a better police officer, in my opinion, someone who lives here, who works here, and doesn't travel miles to go home when that time comes. So good idea, Tom. I'm happy to support this. How are we, my question will always be, and I don't see anybody here necessarily from Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, my question will always be, how are we communicating this to neighborhood councils? Do you know that, Detective?
Unfortunately, I don't have staff here on this today, Councilmember.
Okay, you are the staff.
My backup has arrived.
Scott DeYoung, Personnel Department. We're already in contact with all of the neighborhood councils. We're setting up meetings so that the police recruiters can go out and address the neighborhood councils, make them aware not of this potential program, but impart to them the importance of them using their contacts, spreading the word within their local community that the department is hiring, looking for highly qualified people, and what a great career it is.
And how are you in contact with neighborhood councils?
We've made contact, my staff in the Personnel Department has made contact with all of them, or with most of them. Some of them aren't established yet, but we make contact with them by phone and or email. We arrange for recruiters to attend their meetings when they're scheduled, either as part of public comment or as an agendized item.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a good idea, but it's only going to work if we get that communication out there and that outreach going.
We agree.
Thank you. Mr. Zine.
Status, how are we doing with our recruitment efforts at this particular stage, since we're coming up to the end of the calendar year?
It continues to be difficult. We're dealing with an extremely low unemployment rate. As was mentioned, competition from a lot of agencies, a lot of public safety jobs out there, especially since 9/11, the continued needs of the military all cut into our recruitment pool. But we continue to push every class. We started a class yesterday, 42. Currently, our goal for this year is to hire 650 new officers, and I think we're probably about 15 or 20 behind that right now, but we intend to make it up before the end of the fiscal year.
And then April of '07, which is a few months away, how many will be leaving because of the drop program?
We've got a big hit in May. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's right around 100, I believe. After that, it starts to taper off. What we found during the fourth year is a lot less people are sticking around for the entire 5 years than it looked like was going to happen during the first few. So it looks like after that first big hit in May, the numbers are going to start tapering off significantly. I don't have them with me, but what we've heard from the department is that there is going to be a significant drop-off after that big hit.
And one more item to maybe bring additional personnel. I was up at the National League of Cities conference this past week in Reno, and there was a reception. I was talking to the uniformed officer there who had a Reno Police Department uniform on. I asked him how long he'd been on the job. He said he's retired. He retired from the Sheriff's Department, and they hire previous law enforcement personnel back at an hourly rate. He was working a footbeat, and I thought that was a unique program where they hire retired law enforcement back to do different activities in uniform. They don't receive any benefits other than the compensation which they're receiving for hour work. There's a limited number of hours they're able to work, so it doesn't interfere with the other officers, and they're basically assigned routine duties in the capacity of a police officer, not a reserve officer, but a police officer that works under this unique plan. I've never heard of the plan before, but he was a former sheriff, retired, drawn a pension, and he does this a couple days a week, which is permitted. Have we ever looked into something like that to help bolster some of the numbers while these recruit numbers aren't as significant as we wish?
No, I'm not aware of anything, and we haven't looked at anything like that. just off the top of my head, there might be issues involving post. If these individuals would have full peace officer status, then obviously we'd have to meet all the post requirements if we were hiring somebody, but I've not heard of a program like that.
I'd never heard of it before. It was unique, and Harry, you know, now have another backup. Now the commander's backing you up, so the backup more wise. Commander, have you ever heard of that program that they have in Reno?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't hear the initial question.
Retired police officers that they hire back to the department. This individual I spoke with was a retired deputy sheriff from Nevada, and I don't know what city or what county, and they hire them as uniformed police officers working different details. A very unique program. They get paid per hour. They don't have insurance and other benefits because they're drawing that on their pension. And I was wondering if that would be a stopgap for some of the issues where we have to hire folks back at an hourly rate to do whatever activities we wish them to do in a uniform or a detective assignment. But he retired from the Sheriff's Department, but he's working at the Reno PD. If we could look into that and see what kind of program they have. I'd never heard of it before, but it seems to feel, because they're having a problem hiring folks too, they came up with this program to help remedy some of the shortage of personnel. So if someone can look into that and see what Reno has for this retired personnel coming back into some type of function with a limited number of hours they can work under an hourly rate.
And I will look at that. And as you know, there's another proposal going through the ERB that we're looking at having officers after drop come back. So there's a lot of different issues on the table, but that particular program I'll look at and I'll see if it's something that we can apply in the city.
I thought it was rather unique that they had that. I'd never heard of it before, but somehow to fill the gap. I think the incentive program is good with the 501c3s and neighborhood councils, because clearly the more uniform officers on the street, the safer the community. Absolutely. And thank you for coming and bailing Harry out. He needed some help.
Yeah, I was in closed session at the police commission, so I apologize for being late, but hopefully you got all the information you needed on this nonprofit. And I think it's going to be huge to get our community-based partners involved in the recruitment in a big way.
And I know you've been very involved in that as the commander in charge of the reserve program and recruitment and employee something.
Personnel.
Personnel.
We just hired 42 people in the class that started yesterday, and for the class in January, we have a class January 8th. I'm telling everybody to listen, I'm predicting 67 people at least will be in that class, and so 07 is going to be a big year for us as far as recruitment.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Thank you all.
Thank you. Seeing no other colleagues on the queue, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
That item has been approved. Next item.
Next item is item 71, and that was called special for a card from the public.
Yes, and just a reminder, Mr. Attorney, I know that there is a limit to 6 minutes. Is that correct? Would you like to make that announcement now?
Yes, Madam Chair. To further the orderly process of the meeting in a timely manner and thus avoid the possible loss of a quorum, if a member of the public wishes to speak on more than one item, he or she shall limit his or her remarks to a total of 6 minutes per meeting unless council grants additional time by majority vote. A member of the public may allocate time between items in 1-minute increments. Members of the public speaking on a particular item shall constrain their remarks to that item or be ruled out of order.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. So item number 71, we have Sylvia Lynn Hawkins and Deep South 81.
Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. As we establish hearing dates and signatures, we must say no on any custom of conservation, support of any country other than the 8 states. Parents, signatures,
Excuse me, Madam
agreements.
President, this is a street lighting ordinance matter.
Okay, I'm talking about rights of signatures. Parents, signatures, agreements, any school principal rights, council or bishop rights.
Ms.
We
Hawkins,
must
this is
never
a
need-
street lighting district. You need to talk about what the street lighting district.
Okay, thank you. I will finish.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Hawkins. Deep South 81? Deep South 81. He's indicating with his arm, since he is on the phone, that he does not wish to speak. Please, that item is now before us. The public hearing has been closed. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
And the ordinance on that matter goes over for 1 week.
Thank you. Item 82, is that correct?
Yes, Madam President.
Deep South 81?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just thought I'd come back in for this one. Resolutions relative to the elections. Prop R, it's not a done deal yet. Prop H failed. From what I've figured, you don't really want me on your side because I actually switched in favor of Prop H a few days before the election and it failed. So I want to get behind Tom LaBonge for mayor. I'm hoping he's going to come and help me out with my problems, but if you're going to get re-elected to a third term under the Prop R.
If we could ask you to keep to the items before us, are those two items that are on the ballot? We appreciate your...
Prop
we
R?
love Tom. Prop R is not on the ballot in March.
Oh, this is the March one?
This is the March ballot.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Certified, I'm sorry, certifying the November. I apologize. Certifying the November.
Right. So I'm on the right thing.
You are.
Thank you. Yeah. So don't be celebrating Prop R just yet. That's all I'm saying. But if you do get the term extension lengthening, then I hope I'm going to get some support from those special council members who I know will be re-elected. 15th District's one of them, and there's probably a couple more. I'll figure those out over the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
We'll go out to the valley. Zuma Dog.
Yeah, hooty hoo. First of all, I heard the mic ain't loud enough in chambers, y'all. They said they can't hear it in chambers. Please turn it up in there, because I got important things to say. It's Zuma Dog, and we're talking about the elections that we had. Oh, look at my computer is out of hock, y'all, and I'm reading right off it. It says here, regarding Prop R, don't start popping the champagne yet, because it's official. Legal action against confusing and intentionally deceiving Prop R filed. David Hernandez, San Fernando Valley Community Advocate, and Ted Hayes is going to be, they've filed legal action to overturn Proposition R because the city attorney said it's deceiving and duplicitous to have two separate items on one ballot measure. The language was confusing. There's all types of things wrong. It actually weakens ethnic reform. A judge already said they didn't want it. You got it on the ballot, so now it's going to be overturned. How come my clock ain't ticking yet? Don't even count this time yet. I can't tell. I only want to spend 1 minute now, so I'm just here to say, don't pop the champagne yet, you shady, corrupt politicians, term extensions. It didn't go through yet, and it's going to be overturned in court. Hoo-hoo-hoo! Zuma Dog Holiday Party, September this Sunday, Lava Lounge in Hollywood. Come on by.
Thank you again, Mr. Zuma Dog. We would ask that you not scream into the microphone. Seeing that is our last public speaker on that item, Madam Clerk, item 82 is before us. Open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
That item has been approved. Next item.
Next item is item 83, and that was called special for carts in the public.
Yes, Mr. Zuma Dog out in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. Hello? Yes, I'm the one that's called special for, because I'm very special, and thank you for providing me these lovely council chambers at taxpayers' money. Thank you, Mayor Vigarosa. Now, what number was that, 83?
Yes, sir.
This has to do with the fact that the mayor of Los Angeles is trying to neuter and totally eliminate the LAUSD school board. This is for establishing campaign finance regulations and enforcement, term limits, and a compensation review committee for Los Angeles District School Board. So City Council, I know the mayor got to you and said we want to neuter and effectively eliminate the LAUSD school board. So put some term limits on them, put some campaign finance, cut all their money, put up a review committee regarding this and make it a charter amendment. That way you effectively just get to steamroll through the whole school. Now there's a problem though. The mayor of Los Angeles was not elected by everybody that he's representing LAUSD. It's unconstitutional, so you got this is going to get thrown out in court too, the AB 1381, and this relates to that. So I'm just letting everybody know, right or wrong, the mayor's trying to eliminate the LAUSD school board by forcing city council to put on these term extensions, these term limits, and all these things, y'all. Oh, the city's so messed up, I can't even take it anymore.
Thank you. That's our last speaker on item number 83. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. Thank you very much, Mr. Zine, also known as our city clerk for the moment. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is item 87, and that was call special for cards from the public.
Thank you. One moment. Deep South, there was an item 83. Somehow your card got put in 87. Would you like to speak on 83? You're also on 87 as well. Did you want to speak on 83? We'd have to reconsider it.
You'd have to reconsider? No. Okay, I'll waive
No,
that.
thank
No,
you.
just
Okay. Then on
Christmas.
item 87.
87. Thank you. Yes, the dog and ponies are all on the one motion. Isn't that lovely? I just want to say that I'm all in favor. I checked them all out. I've been through the list, the special event fee waivers. These ones all check out. I don't see any commercial sponsorship deals or any shadiness. They look okay. Wow, I can even see myself up on the monitor for once. They don't normally do that. How about a close-up, Channel 35? Push these through. I'm all for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zuma Dog on on item number 87.
Yes, Matt, you didn't look close enough. We got the Mercedes-Benz press conference. Garcetti, LaBonge, what's up with that, y'all? Is Jack Weiss in the room? Because special event fee waivers are supposed to be for open to the public community events in the best interest of the neighborhood for nonprofit organizations. And if there's anything that's more profitable that ain't in the interest of the community is Mercedes-Benz, y'all. How much money do they make, y'all? Let me back up from the mic because I'm so worked up. You're going to waive? You're going to be paying $20,000? Oh, my God. It doesn't even say how much. Anyway, I'm sorry it says that the city's going to be reimbursed. Event sponsor to reimburse. Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Good thinking, Eric. I renege all my negative opposition, y'all, on that one. So let's move on to some other ones. So that's good news, y'all. They know they can't get a curveball past me, y'all, so they don't even try anymore. But let's see, I'd like to remind everybody that the San Fernando Valley Toy Giveaway is on December 10th, y'all. And oh, that was already. Why do you put them on here when you already had them for us? So forget that one. Let's see what else we got here. We got, here's one. It's O. Please clarify. It says relative to declaring the event at the Ricardo Montalban Theater a special event. It doesn't say what event. It doesn't say how much. So at the end of my time, if you could please tell me, it says motion gruel for Garcetti. Oh, Wendy, maybe you can tell me what the event is because it don't say, y'all. And then we got another one here, the Lava Lounge on La Brea in Hollywood this Sunday at 8:30 at Zuma Dog's Holiday Karaoke Party. Come on out. I'm waving.
Thank you, Mr. Zuma Dog. If you'd like, you can ask Mr. Garcetti's office. They'll let you know about that event. Seeing no other public comment cards on that item, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
I know we want to ask 82 and 83 to go forthwith. Next item.
Next item, Madam President, is item number 93, and that was called special for cards from the public.
Yes, on item number 93, Deep South 81 and Mr. Zuma Dog. 93.
Okay, yeah, we're short of agendas here in council chambers. I'm trying to find one at the back or anywhere, and I'm just winging this. So due to the fact that there's no agendas here in chambers, I'm going to waive my comment and let Zuma Dog take this one up. Thank you.
Mr. LaBonge is giving you his agenda. They're also posted outside as well. Do you want to continue your remarks or go to Mr. Zuma Dog?
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge, for providing that one. Yeah, this is, I remember this one. Okay, this is transfer of funds from recycling over to the police patrols. Yeah, I was right. I'm going to let Zuma Dog handle this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zuma Dog.
Yeah, 93, thank you to by the way, I'd like to thank City Council and the Mayor of Los Angeles and taxpayers for my private City Council chambers, y'all, where you don't suffer permanent nerve damage from crazy screw-loose cops like Officer Landry. But now let's talk about 93, and that is the Central Los Angeles Recycling and you heard about the trash fee collection. Everyone was upset that they're going to have to raise the trash fees for 100 new cops. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first little trickle of that. You got $20,000 that's going to be transferred from the Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station to increase police patrol in Northeast Los Angeles communities, y'all. So if you're in Northeast Los Angeles, look for a little trickle of maybe 1 or 2 new police officers, because when we raised that trash fee collection, they said it wasn't going to go to where it should, y'all. So here they did a little diversionary trickle, y'all, taking some of your trash fee collection increases and giving it to the police. What happened, y'all? What, yeah. Hey, there you go. So Zuma Dog Holiday Karaoke Party at Lava Lounge, 8:30 on Sunday. Come on by, a special event fee. Yeah. And stop the shadiness, waste, corruption, abuse, and greediness at the hands of the constituent City Council. You got serious ethic problems. You're greedy, you're shady, you're wasteful, you're abuseful of the money. And I'd like to say, let's make a New Year's resolution where you just cut that back, y'all, because you're taking too much construction money from the contractors, y'all, and you're making a condo conversion craze, and the whole city's out of control. There's no more cultural integrity, and it's all going to fold in like a house of cards,
I'd like to
y'all.
have you specifically to the item before us. You have 30 seconds.
Okay, well, it's the police, y'all. Okay, so like I said, they raised the trash fee collections to the constituents to pay for 100 new cops. I hope one of them's Officer Landry, because that guy's got a screw loose, and he gave me permanent nerve damage in my left hand, and he's going to be coming up on criminal charges for that if Zuma Dog has his way.
He
So
appears to
hopefully
be
some of that trash
off topic.
Okay.
Hopefully some of that trash fee collection money can go to replacing Officer Landry, that crazy nut.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zumadog. Next item, please. I'm sorry, before we take that, we'll vote on that item. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes. I think that means 11 ayes. Okay, 11 ayes. Thank you. Next item.
The council has motions for posting and referral.
Those items will be posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Smith requests to be excused Tuesday, January 9th and Wednesday, January 10th for personal business that meets council policy.
He will be excused.
Councilmember Zine requests to be excused January 9th and 10th for city business that meets council policy.
Be excused.
Councilmember Parks requests to be excused Wednesday, February 14th to arrive at 10:45 for city business that meets council policy.
He'll be excused.
Councilmember Perry requests to be excused the first Fridays in 2007 for AQMD board meetings. Those are city business, and those all meet council policy.
She'll be excused.
And that clears the desk, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements today, colleagues? Announcements? Yes, Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to announce that the WorkSource Winter Job Fair is going to be December the 15th at the Crenshaw WorkSource Center at 3965 South Vermont between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. With a large group of employers attending, and we certainly encourage the public to come out. Also, the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber will be having its holiday mixer Thursday, December the 14th, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And the 8th District will be co-hosting their third annual Children's Winter Wonderland, which will be at the Merck Park, 43rd and Crenshaw, December the 16th, 11 a.m. to 2, and we'll have a variety of events and snow for our young people in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Just wanted to announce that the farmers market where Little Tokyo meets the Arts District is now on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it is in Weller Court in Little Tokyo at the corner of 2nd and San Pedro. Every Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Mr. Zine.
2 items. I just wanted to thank you last night for the meeting you attended with Lloyd Levine and myself for the restaurant owners of San Fernando Valley, alerting them to the robbery situation and to keep them aware during this holiday season to be extra alert. Also, Mr. Parks has a unique tie of a blue and gold. I'm surprised if you can explain that, Mr. Parks.
This is a basic message. Do not bet. It's illegal to bet in the city of LA. You bet and you lose, and you end up wearing silly ties for the whole day of the council.
And he made all of us Bruins very happy. I had my picture taken with him with his tie on, so. Thank you, Mr. Zion. Yes. Yes, Mr. Cardenas.
On that note, it's too bad Mr. Smith isn't here for the benefit of these comments. But I think the reason why the council was out last week, I want to admit, it's not so much the League of Cities. I think it was to give the USC fans on council a chance to recover, and then to give the UCLA fans a chance to recover from that shock. But it was a good shock. It was a stimulating shock. And it just goes to show, on a serious note, to all the kids out there, all the people who want to compete in sports, we forget when we look at the people throwing the ball and making the fancy touchdowns, you win with defense. It's not glamorous. It's not glamorous at all. It's the tough job that wins the game. So it was the defense that won that game.
After the game, we just call it an old silly game.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Do we have adjourning motions? Yes, we do. If I could ask everyone to please rise. Please rise. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you. It's with a heavy heart that I announce the passing of the father of the Lieutenant Governor of California, Cruz Bustamante Jr., passed away on December 1st, 2006, at the age of 73. Cruz Bustamante Jr. of Fresno, California, was a beloved husband and father, grandfather, brother, and uncle, and he died on December 1st, 2006. Cruz was born on November 2nd, 1933, in Loving, New Mexico, to Jesusita Gonzalez and Cruz Bustamante Sr. He graduated from Dinuba High School and Moeller Barber College. He had an enjoyable career as a barber and later served as administrator with the Greater California Education Program and the United Health Centers. Additionally, he served on the City of San Joaquin Council as both a member and mayor pro tem. Cruz Bustamante Jr. also served on many civic, educational, and community boards and committees where he cherished many long-lasting friendships throughout his career and civic involvement. He will be sorely missed by all who knew him, and he touched many, many lives. Remembrances can be made to the Catholic Charities, 149 North Fulton, in the city of Fresno, California, 93701. He's survived by his wife of 54 years, Dominga Bustamante, his 6 children, Cruz Bustamante, M. Bustamante, the Lieutenant Governor, Belinda Rosette, Dorothy Arroyo, Ron Andrew, and Naomi Bustamante, and several siblings, and 10 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. I knew this man. He was a very humble person. He's the father of the Lieutenant Governor. You would never know that when you met him. He was just a regular guy that enjoyed life and raised his children very, very well with his wife Dominga. And hopefully all members. I have a second adjournment. Marie Emilia Mitchell died on Monday, December 4th, 2006, from a heart condition called Marfan syndrome, which is hereditary. That's a detachment of the aorta. Doctors were unable to control her blood pressure to perform surgery. She also lost a brother to the same heart problem. He was only 14 years old when he passed. Marie Emilia Mitchell was a graduate of UCLA. She was employed by LAUSD from November 6, 2000 until her passing. She taught at Haddon Elementary in Pacoima, Apperson, and finally Vina Elementary in my district. Prior to working for LAUSD, she worked at Pinecrest Private School for 5 years. Marie will be sorely missed by all who knew her, and as she touched so many lives. She died very suddenly, and it was a shock to the students and the community around Vina Elementary. She was only 42 years old. She was a wonderful human being, and was actually the teacher to 2 twins who are my nieces. And the children are very devastated, and hopefully that school will be able to cope with this, and the district will be there to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'd like us to adjourn our meeting today in memory of Robert Bradford Jr., who passed away recently. He was a merchant marine during World War II and actually was here at our council chambers along with Councilman Parks' father when we passed the city resolution in support of a congressional bill that would finally give our merchant mariners full veteran status and pay benefits to them, their spouses, and their children. That has still not happened. And it's sad when another merchant mariner passes, because the legislation, even if it does pass, is written so that the veteran must be alive at the time the bill passes for the benefits to pass to their spouses and children, which is unfortunate because I think the average age right now of merchant mariners is in their 80s. So this is something I know we all still support, and maybe we should take that up again and push this Congress to finally recognize the merchant marines as being full veterans of this country. He's survived by a number of his friends and family, and the funeral services for Mr. Bradford are being held today at Inglewood Cemetery. I'd also like to adjourn today in memory of Anna Alvarado, who passed away on December 4th in Harbor City. Anna was a member of the Wednesday Club and the Open Arm of San Pedro. She was active with the Banning Senior Center. She's survived by her husband, Julio, 2 sons, Julio Jr. and Roberto, daughters Angela, Daisy, Miriam, and Maria Elena, as well as 3 grandchildren and other friends and family. I know her daughter, Daisy Ibarra, who is been with the organization, the Gang Alternative Program, in the Harbor area for 20 years. And so she has asked that we adjourn our meeting in the memory of her mother.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Members, I'd like to ask all of you to join with me. Unfortunately, we had a tragic injury to our Los Angeles Department of Water employee, Don Ballard, who had worked just for a few months with the department in repairing the Castaic power plant, which is offline. Over the weekend, he fell 60 feet to his tragic death. His brother Daryl is also an employee with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. He is survived by 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls. I ask we adjourn in memory of one of our own, our Los Angeles Department of Water employee, Don Ballard. Additionally, members, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Peter Caballeros, who is the head of the Athens Los Angeles Sister City Committee. Peter, a longtime Los Angeles resident, graduated from the University of Southern California and also did schooling in North Carolina. He was chairman of a very special Maglite Industries, a company that we founded in the 1980s. He also was the CEO of several other companies and design and manufacturing high-powered devices used in commercial industrial electronics. He's survived by his wife Beverly and 3 children, and he was a very cheerful gentleman who just two Saturdays ago at an evening at another Sister Cities event, he was there and very happy and a contributing member. Peter Caballeros, our Sister City of Athens. And finally, members, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Jean Kirkpatrick, who served this country well as an ambassador to the United Nations. She was a political science professor at Georgetown until her appointment to the UN. She is survived by her son, Stuart Jean Kirkpatrick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask Ms. Hahn to be added on Mr. Bradford's. I've known him all my life. In fact, if you are around families in South Los Angeles and they're very large, you find out after you're in your 20s that most of the people you think are aunts and uncles are not. They're just friends of your mother and father, and that's how Bobby Bradford or Robert Bradford was viewed in our family. He and my father went to school together and then later went to war together and then came back and continued that friendship. And the one thing that held them together was that merchant seaman issue, which often, if you do not know or are related to people that are merchant seamen, you kind of forget about them because they're not the Navy, they're not the Army and all that other, but they played a very vital role in the war and continue to play it. And so I just asked to be added to that.
More soldiers in the Merchant Marines than any other branch of the military.
And I also have a adjourning motion asked that we adjourn in memory of a retired LA police officer, Roselle Ray Shepard, who was born in 1945 in Temple, Texas. He was the 5th of 6 children. His family moved to Los Angeles, where he graduated from Dorsey High School. He was a member and worshiped regularly at Mount Sinai Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Charles. He married his high school sweetheart, Evelyn Henderson, in 1962, in which they've had 2 children. He was a police officer, retired as a P2 from Operation South Bureau Crash. He was there for over 21 years. He passed away, and I asked Ms. Hahn to join me on this. He passed away in Harbor City on November the 18th, 2006. Both of his parents preceded him in death. His funeral service is held November 24th at Inglewood Cemetery.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
I wanted to take this opportunity to adjourn in memory of Margie Joseph, who passed away on November the 21st. She was the mother of Officer Dion Joseph, who is a police officer in Central Division, in Central City East in particular. Her life was filled with love and devotion. Besides caring for her own daughter and 3 sons, she was a foster mother to 41 youngsters over her lifetime, and often accommodated 6 and 7 at a time in her Long Beach home. She met her husband Milton at Confederate Memorial Hospital in Shreveport, Louisiana, where they were both nurses' aides. They courted for 8 months before getting married on March 14, 1959, and in 1994, the couple invested in Margie's love of cooking and opened Margie's Kitchen in Long Beach. Southern cooking was her forte. If she didn't feed others through her business, she fed them through nonprofit programs. She was a devout Christian who read her Bible daily, took part in a program that fed 300 to 500 people in need every Saturday. She is survived by her husband, 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti?
If the adjourning motions are over, I want to
they're
do an
not.
announcement afterwards.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Rosendahl.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Tom Mossman. Some of you might know Tom Mossman. He's a great big guy, and he just died. He was only 68 years old. He died on November 27th. Tom was with the general manager of KCLS, which is the LA Unified School District television station. And he put together a lot of creative programming. He also worked with the Catholic Diocese on its television outreach. He's a good friend of mine, and he worked with me in the cable industry in getting good product on the air for the community. He's survived by his wife, Jan, and his 2 sons, and tomorrow there'll be a memorial service in South Pasadena, and I'm going to be going to it. May Tom Mossman rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Any other adjourning motions? If not, Mr. Garcetti for an announcement.
My apologies. Tom, you didn't mention the USS Los Angeles, did you? Okay. Ms. Hahn in her district, and I know Mr. Labange paid a visit, colleagues, the USS Los Angeles, which is the first of its class of submarines, for the first time is visiting Los Angeles. And it's flying a city flag. We've permanently given them city flags, and I went on a tour this Sunday of the ship, which is down there at berth 46, I think, down at the harbor. And Tom Labange had stuck a city seal, they said, that had to be there on the side of it, and the flag of the city of Los Angeles was waving. Inside, they had an original plaque from 1976 when it was first launched with with Mayor Bradley and President Ferraro and the rest of the city council. You know, the resolutions that we do wind up in some of the most proud places for all of us, and they had pictures of the Dodgers and all sorts of LA things that when these men go underwater for months at a time sometimes, they are very proud of their connection to Los Angeles, and we should be very proud because it was the first of its class. Every other city that was named after in this class of submarines is called a Los Angeles class submarine. And just wanted to thank everybody who made possible that visit. Grant Ivy, among others, a great constituent, excuse me, of CD15. And then also the men who are here who are actually spending time in Los Angeles. So if you see somebody from the Navy or especially short haircut and they look like they might be from the Navy, go shake their hands and thank them for their service. And certainly the USS Los Angeles, I hope it will not be the last of our visits here.
Interesting history. Actually, my father, along with Tom Bradley, went to Newport News, Virginia, when President Carter actually commissioned the sub. So it was kind of interesting for me to be some 30 years later welcoming her dockside in San Pedro. I was able to tour her the other morning. It was close quarters, but it was very fascinating to have that submarine. And Navy Day is a great group of volunteers who are trying to reconnect the public with, Navy ships and subs and to promote interest and understanding of what goes on in the Navy. So it's always fun to have our resident Navy man, President Garcetti, come down to welcome our ships.
Tom knows that, can you name the 4 USS Los Angeleses, Tom?
You can.
We've had actually, there's a fuel tanker in 1917, a Zeppelin that was called the USS Los Angeles from 1923 to 35, and then a cruiser built at the end of World War II that served through Korea, and then the submarine. So we've had 4 different kinds of
And a point of
ships.
information on the third one, actually, when it was decommissioned, there was an attempt to bring it as kind of a museum to San Pedro. No one could ever really find the funds for that, but we have the mast of that USS Los Angeles along Harbor Boulevard, so people can come and visit that part of the USS Los Angeles.
Excellent.
Look at me, Navy facts per Navy facts.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.